Myth 9. A man's role is to provide, and if he fails, he deserves poor treatment. This deeply embedded cultural assumption creates a justification framework for abuse. It suggests that as long as a man fulfills his provider role adequately, then he deserves respect and being treated decently. But it also implies that failure to provide at expected levels somehow justifies treating another human being poorly, abusing them emotionally, or justifies any relationship problems. This belief persists because society historically valued men primarily for their contribution, creating a direct link between their worth as human beings and their output. The assumption becomes that relationship problems must stem from provider failures, and that inadequate provision naturally leads to relationship stress and conflict. Abusers weaponize this myth through performance based justifications for their abuse. If he loses his job, gets demoted, or earns less than expected, the abuse escalates with explicit justification. If you were a real man, you'd be able to provide better, or other women's husbands make more money. Maybe if you worked harder, I wouldn't be so stressed. The shortfall becomes the excuse for increased abuse, control, and mistreatment. Society reinforces this by viewing economic struggles as explanations for relationship problems. When a man faces abuse during unemployment or underemployment, the cultural response often focuses on his failure to provide rather than his partner's choice to respond with abuse. She's under a lot of stress because he lost his job, becomes the explanation, rather than recognizing that financial stress does not justify abusive behavior. This framework creates devastating psychological traps where men accept abuse as justified punishment for their provider shortcomings. They believe their worth as a human being depends entirely on their output, and that any failure in this area naturally leads to deserved consequences. The reality is that there is no level of economic performance that would ever justify abuse, manipulation, or mistreatment. A person's worth as a human being is not determined by their income, job status, or ability to provide material goods.